rather than trying to take one side or the other on this binary, I'm going to just simply ask the question, why can't we have both? And that might be a strange question to ask, but I would argue that throughout all of church history, there have been many times where Christians have been able to have music that is both traditional and contemporary. They've been able to have music that can be both old and new at the same time. It can be both fresh and also looking toward the past at the same time. So why is it that we can't seem to get that? And what can we do about that? Traditional and contemporary, I would argue, is basically you're trying to balance the concerns of authority and immediacy in your liturgy. But I think that there's value to immediacy, and what I mean by that is like semantic immediacy. So in other words, if we contrast, now what is the opening line of Psalm 122 in most translations, like in the King James? I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord. That's what I would call immediate. Even if it's in the old King James language, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord. I know I have an exact sense of the kind of purchase that has on the real world. I can picture all the words and so forth. But if I say, oh, 'twas a joyful sound to hear our tribes devoutly say, up Israel to the temple haste and keep your festal day. It literally took me 10 years to realize that was the same psalm. When I realized, oh, this is Psalm 122. I was glad when they said unto me. So to my mind, that is an unhelpful lack of immediacy. I prefer the immediacy of something where you just get rid of all that, fluff. Say that contemporary music is attempting to do is capture that immediacy in the realm of music, where there's a direct purchase on the real world. The music that I listen to on the radio and the music that I sing in church, there is some connection there. Whereas I have no immediate connection to the music of Bach. That was the music of a German who's been dead for 300 years. It's totally arbitrary. Why would I have that in my church service? So, I mean, there's value and force to that argument. On the other hand, traditional, I think people like traditional things because it lends authority. And the example I always think of is, you are dust and you will return to dust. And if you say that, it totally has not nearly the force of authority that dust thou art and to dust thou shalt return. I mean, with that archaic language, you can do things like you can invert the word order so that dust is the first thing in both halves of the phrase, and you can, there's maybe just a sort of inherent, poetic strength to the words thou art that isn't there with you are or something like that. So you can easily see why the sort of authority and the moral tradition that goes along with that older version of the phrase is appealing to people. They want that on Ash Wednesday. So that's what I mean when I say, if you think of traditional, my guess is that psychologically what most people want out of that is authority. And if you think of contemporary, what most people want is immediacy.